Hello YouTube, this is Cineforce. My name's Liam, and this is going to be our home for everything geeky, nerdy, and pop culture related. We want to share our opinions on all this stuff with you out there on the YouTubes and get our voices in on this conversation. This is something we wanted to start for quite a while, and we are excited to be starting it at such an exciting time. It's a new year, it's a new decade, and 2020, can you believe it? I know I can't. It's the future, it's exciting, and there's so much going on in the world of movies and television. 2019 in particular saw the closure for several major geeky series. We had Avengers Endgame this year. We had Star Wars Episode 9 wrapping up the main series of those films. We had several other superhero movies and geeky movies. We had a lot of action adventure movies and sci-fi, horror. It was a really great year for movies. The lovely Crystal Waters is going to be joining me today to talk about all of that, but before we do, I just wanted to give you a quick preview as to what we have coming up for you on the channel as we move forward. We're going to be bringing you our Geek Council podcast to discuss all the best sci-fi, fantasy, and comic book nerdy stuff out there. We're also going to have a series devoted entirely to Star Wars called Restructuring Star Wars, which is basically going to be an ongoing fan fiction type of what-if scenario that we've been planning for several years to attempt to kind of remold that universe into our own versions of what we would do with those films if we had a chance to play with them and rebuild them. That's going to be fun. We're also going to have a News Desk satire show we've been talking about. We're going to have an animation-centric series called Alterverse Animation, which has all sorts of alternate takes on classic animation, plus our own original stuff that we're working on. Myself and Crystal here are going to have a show called Couples Car Eating, which is going to have us going out to all our favorite places to eat and any new ones that we come across, and we're just going to review those for you, and hopefully that'll be fun for all you foodies out there in the spirit of Hungry Nomads. Any food fans that want to discover new places to eat can come along with us on that, and we're also going to have several other series and projects coming up. We want to get into independent filmmaking as well, and we hope you join us as we work towards all of those things, and stick around for our various discussions of all sorts of wacky pop culture stuff that we love to talk about. If any of that sounds interesting to you, please hit like and subscribe, and hopefully we can share this journey together. Having said all that, I am joined today by my better half, my person, the lovely Crystal Waters.
Hey.
And we're going to talk about our favorite movies of the year. And I feel like a straight up top 10 list or something like that is a little too formal.
Just movies
plus,
we enjoyed, right?
Yeah, plus it's hard to put one movie over another sometimes. I have a hard time picking, like, what do I like? I like this one better than this one. Basically, boiled down, if I wanted to do like a top 3 or 4 movies, I could do that. Because Avengers came out
in the top 3.
Avengers came out this year, Endgame, and that was amazing.
I probably should have started it again. First time I saw it, there was kids behind me laughing and cracking up at everything.
We did have
right in the tear-jerking scenes too.
We did have a little bit of a tough time on our first viewing. I want to get to it again, but if you want to talk about a movie that just took all the expectations that I had about it and not only met them but went beyond them, I just had an awesome time at the theater with that movie, and it was completely satisfying to me, and it brought over 10 years of movies to such a great close without being a close, because we know that there's going to be more Marvel movies coming, but if they stopped making Marvel movies tomorrow, I'd still be satisfied. Like, it's a good ending. It's a good end game.
Yeah, I agree.
And I want to talk more about that movie later, but that's definitely, if not my top movie. Like, it's not going to win a Best Picture Oscar. It's not like that type of movie, but in my heart, it won.
You're in a nerd.
The Oscar. But this is going to be a geeky podcast, and if you want to talk about probably the most geeky movie you could get, it's Avengers Endgame. It's so satisfying that it makes my top of the list of last year. And I want to be able to say that the final Star Wars tops it all. I've been a Star Wars person like my whole life.
Trekkie fan here.
And I'm also a Trekkie fan. I've also watched Star Trek my whole life. There was not a Star Trek movie that came out this year. There was a Star Wars movie that wrapped up the entire saga, or at least that was, how they're presenting it. I will talk more at length about that installment of Star Wars later, but when it comes to both what they did with it and just how satisfying Endgame was, I can't put Star Wars above Endgame. Marvel just crushed it. Definitely. Like, Marvel crushed it both with meeting my expectations, going beyond them, and just a fun time at the theater. The final battle scene that you get at the end of Avengers, just my mind was literally like exploding.
Yeah.
When when you finally get Captain America saying "Avengers Assemble" and just everyone charging everyone.
That's true. I like the scene with the ladies.
Oh yes. Finally getting to see all the female superheroes fighting together. Like, you got a little bit of it in the previous movie, but I don't know. There were some internet trolls that were saying that it felt like pandering, but I thought that it was awesome.
Oh, and then those lights with the Doctor Strange. That was amazing. The portals. That blew my mind.
When all the portals open up and you just get the massive alien army versus like every Marvel character almost, except for the couple that they haven't worked out the rights to yet, although now we're going to get those coming up. But, barring a couple characters, that was probably the most crazy thing that I've ever seen on a movie screen. Just the Giant Man and Hulk and
the
Thanos.
Theater too. Everybody was screaming.
Oh my God! I don't think that in my lifetime, I don't think I've ever heard that much noise in a theater, just cheering and screaming. And
I have once in
joy.
Twilight. Yep, I watched Twilight.
Oh, okay, Twilight. Yeah. Well, that had its own specific fan base, and hey, you know what? That's geeky stuff too.
Yeah.
I'll allow
sci-fi vampires.
I'll allow it. Vampires are part of. Speaking of vampires, just on a little bit of a tangent here, Morbius is coming out this year, 2020, which I don't know if you've seen the trailer to that yet. We should watch the trailer maybe later in this episode, and I can have you react to it. Because
I love everything vampire.
It's gonna be everything. It's in. This is a character that is in the Spider-Man universe. Traditionally, he's a villain from Spider-Man.
I'm interested.
And he's a vampire. Okay. He's called Morbius, the Living Vampire. And by the looks of things, which is pleasing me a lot, it's a Sony movie, but it does look like they are connecting it to the Spider-Man universe.
Oh, I'm excited.
So, and it's Jared Leto.
That could be good.
Playing a vampire. We'll get to that. But let's go. What I want to do is I want to run down the list.
I think he got gypped in Joker. He didn't get enough scenes. They cut a bunch of his out. I think he could have done a lot better with a lot more screen time.
I think that's true. I think that Jared Leto gets a fairly bad rap for his Joker.
Nobody will beat Heath Ledger, but I still think he could have done a lot better job if he got more scenes in the movie.
Heath Ledger is very hard to top. That is a performance that, before that happened, there were not many people who thought that a comic book character could get somebody an Oscar. And Heath Ledger proved them wrong.
He went very method for that.
He went very method. Jared Leto tried to go method. Like, he was mailing cast members, like, dead rats and used condoms and stuff. And I don't know
gross.
I don't know about all that, but
no.
I think that maybe if that movie hadn't been completely cut up and edited like crap, people might be maybe not as enthusiastic about Jared Leto's Joker as Heath Ledger, but I don't think that he...
No, he definitely wouldn't have beat him, but it still would have been enjoyable.
I think it would have been more enjoyable. And from what I've heard, that movie could have been a lot better if they had gone with the original stuff and maybe cut out some of the more odd bits of...
Like random, the movie's going along and then just some
well,
random...
you know, like how Jared Leto's trying to, like, pimp out Harley to Common in his weird strip club.
Yeah, that was a weird scene.
They kept a scene like that, but then they don't have, like, some of the other Joker scenes that are on the deleted reel. That's a whole other podcast for a whole other time. 2019, what I want to do, instead of, like, or at least leading up to a traditional top movies thing, I want to go through the movies of the year chronologically, break down what we thought about the ones we saw. Although first off, I wanted to do basically an honorable mentions section, because there are several movies that a lot of people are putting on their best of the years that we have not gotten around to yet. So in fairness, I can't say whether or not they'd be in my own top best of list, but I do think they need to be mentioned. There are a lot of movies that come out every year, and these are all probably worthy of being on the list, but we simply haven't gotten around to everything yet. Last year was an awesome year for movies. There have been so many that even these can make their own top 10. For me, this includes Jojo Rabbit, 1917, Dolomite Is My Name, Jumanji, the new Jumanji, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Lighthouse,
I want to see that.
Ford vs. Ferrari, Midsommar, Parasite, and The Irishman. Now going down those...
I did see The Irishman.
Okay, you watched The Irishman.
That was really good.
Okay, so we do have at least one opinion on that one. And you saw another one that I haven't gotten to yet that's on my honorable mentions, which is Booksmart.
Oh, that was funny. That was great.
No, I've heard good things about Booksmart, and the Irishman is up for several Oscars, as are several other of those movies I just listed. But the ones that I really want to get to in particular, for me, are Jojo Rabbit, Dolomite, The Lighthouse, Once Upon a Time, and 1917. Because I love Taika Waititi, who is the director and star of Jojo Rabbit. The rest of you geeks know him from Thor Ragnarok and the Avengers movies as...
Was he the rock guy?
Korg, yes,
yeah,
rock guy.
I like that.
He voices him, and he directed Ragnarok and the upcoming Thor, and he's awesome. He's also, if you've never seen the movie What We Do in the Shadows, the vampire movie that he directed, that is now also a series on streaming. That's amazing. But basically he plays... It's the movie's about a young boy in Nazi Germany whose imaginary friend is Hitler. And he plays Hitler. So it's kind of like comedy mixed with dark, inspirational. So that seemed very interesting to me. The fact that he even got that movie made is crazy.
It's a unique idea for sure.
Definitely. All of these movies are very unique. They're intriguing to me, and I definitely know I suggest checking them out. But Dolomite Is My Name is something that is Eddie Murphy doing basically the story of the 70s exploitation film Dolomite, which isn't getting enough attention. I haven't even seen it yet, but I've heard good things, and I love Eddie Murphy, so
I haven't seen it either.
I think that should get a mention. The Lighthouse looks very intriguing, but also very, if you don't have an artsy sensibility, I don't know whether it would be for you, but that's a black and white movie with Willem Dafoe.
I'll watch any movie with him in it.
And Robert
He's
Pattinson.
Really good. Really good.
Yeah. Both of them look super intense in that movie, and it looks like it was filmed this past year, but it basically looks like it came out in the 30s because it's all black and white. It's cropped to the old school aspect ratio, and there's no like super special effects. It's all like looks like those old school King Kong, Wizard of Oz miniatures for the sets and stuff like that. So that's very interesting and unique. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood I haven't gotten to yet, but I do love Quentin Tarantino, so that's up there. That's got a lot of great people in it. I've been hearing a lot of good things about Ford versus Ferrari, but I haven't got to that yet. Christian Bale and Matt Damon.
We need to see a lot more movies.
It's another biopic.
We
haven't gotten around to a lot of the Oscar films, like the more critically acclaimed stuff yet. We're geeks here, so we kind of focused in on a lot of the action, adventure, genre films, superhero stuff. But, we don't ignore any of this stuff either. We just haven't gotten to a lot of it yet. Parasite is something that I've been hearing a lot of great stuff from a lot of people. That's
I haven't even heard of it.
Well, I mean, if you don't watch a lot of films with subtitles, it might not be one that you jump on immediately.
I watch some French things.
Yep.
Usually because Netflix.
It's just something that I haven't gotten to yet. And both Jumanji and 1917 both came out very recently, and we haven't gotten around to the theater a lot in the past couple weeks, so they've been a tiny bit lower on our lists. But I loved the...
Knives Out?
I wouldn't call... Yes, but I as far as these two, I loved the last Jumanji movie.
Oh, I loved
the remake.
Loved it.
I thought that was...
I loved how they didn't try to redo the original, because the original was perfect just the way it was.
Yes, I liked that. I was going to say it's not really a remake or a reboot. It's like a
Reimagination. Reimagination.
Yeah, it's a sequel, actually, because they do mention the original character in it.
That's true.
Robin Williams' character. But
Wasn't
it's just
there a carving
later. Yep, and it actually, I loved how that last movie, the first one with The Rock in it, Welcome to the Jungle, I love how it opened with the board game from the 90s movie. Like somebody finds it on the beach that you see it wash up on at the end of the original movie. So it is a direct sequel, and I loved that, and I really want to get around to the next one, because the last one was very funny. That cast is very great.
Oh, fantastic
and,
cast choice. Fantastic.
Judging by the trailer, the additions that they've made to it also look very funny. And the other one was 1917. I've been hearing a lot of great stuff about that. It's a World War I film, and it is filmed to look like it's all one long shot. So the editing is cut together in a way that makes the whole movie just one long action shot, which kind of like if you've seen Birdman with Michael Keaton, it's another one that tried to do something like that.
I don't think I saw that.
And that was interesting as well. The cinematography in that looks great. But anyway, going down the list of stuff that we did see this year, I wanted to do it chronologically so that I didn't want to put one thing over another, except for, as we said earlier, Endgame. Oh my gosh, Endgame. Oh, and I don't know how it slipped my mind, but John Wick.
John Wick is. It's one of my favorites from this year, definitely.
Probably my favorite, new property, new series that has come out this decade, because all three of those films came out in the 2010s. And
I definitely agree.
I jumped on that bandwagon a little late, but I am fully on board with it now, and I mean, I've always loved Keanu.
I'd have to say my favorite scene was definitely the Knives Museum. it was crazy.
Oh, right, the knife music. Like with all the knives in the cases.
The fight scene was phenomenal, and then it ended with a knife in the eye. That was pretty gross, but awesome.
Without giving too much more away, yes, there's a part with many knives, and also he kills a guy with a book, which was
amazing.
Yeah, the series keeps on upping the ante with
anything Keanu Reeves is in. It's gonna be great.
Speaking of which, of upcoming movies this year, Bill and Ted 3.
Bill and Ted 3. Yes.
After 20 plus years,
I'm excited.
I'm definitely excited.
Is Keanu Reeves a vampire? Is he a vampire?
I think he is not aged. There's several theories.
I've seen an old timey photo. Like, I don't know if it was real, but on Facebook, and it was like somebody else, but looks exactly like him. And I was like, it's official. It's real.
If you told me that was true, I would probably believe it. But before we get to John Wick and to Avengers, there were a few other movies. At the beginning of the year, we had Escape Room. I think
that was really good.
I think a lot of people skipped over this movie. It came out really early on, like first thing about a year ago, and it isn't really a known property. It's a new idea, but I thought it was very inventive.
I loved it. It was definitely original. You don't see that many movies that are original, at least in my opinion. Like with horror, it's always like the same thing happens. You know who's gonna die. You know how it happens. You know in order. But this movie was like totally. Oh crap! How'd that happen? It just blew your mind.
I liked to. You and I are not. We are not the biggest horror people. We skipped out on a few this year. We did not see La Llorona. We did not see It.
No, I don't like clowns.
She does not like clowns.
I'm not going to do that.
I've seen the first It. I have not seen the second It yet. But
what?
I watched it online.
Oh.
But I'm a nice person, and I'm not going to drag somebody who is afraid of something to a movie.
I want to go.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck getting me there.
And I'm not a huge horror person anyway, but I did, just to do a subgenre here, there were a few horror movies this year that I would classify them in the horror genre that I did think were really great. An Escape Room was one of them. Us
Ready or
was
Not.
Another one. Ready or Not and Brightburn.
Ooh, and Happy Death Day to you.
And Crawl and Happy Death Day to you.
One.
So I think that that was all good. And I think that Escape Room, I hear that they are already working on a sequel, and I'll see it. I thought it was good.
Do you think they're gonna start out on the plane?
They might start out on a plane, a train.
I think that'd be exciting. Like, how are you gonna get out of that?
I think that they could go in many different directions with it. It almost kind of gave me a little bit of a Final Destination type vibe, but in a different way. Not as gory or as it doesn't make you as afraid of everyday life as Final Destination does, because you're not like, oh well, if I don't go to an escape room, then this won't happen.
Final Destination kind of like played on your fears. It was like, what is somebody slightly worried about? Let's make it so that they know this could happen.
Final Destination is tough in that respect, and I think a lot of us
still
out
love
there.
It. I still love it.
I did love those a lot, but I don't know if I'm gonna sit down to watch them very often.
Not gonna lie, too. It sucked. They just like wrote in the newspaper that he died. Like they didn't even bring him back in the second movie.
To spoil a 10-plus-year-old movie.
You've
at this
had to
point,
seen it by now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's the statute of limitations might be up on Final Destination 2, but they do kind of. They bring back one original character, but then the other one they just throw under the bus, and they throw the. He got
hit by a brick too.
He
survived all the other stuff, and he got hit by a loose brick. What?
If you survive an entire supernatural horror movie and then get killed off screen with a brick, that's just. I'm sorry, but yeah,
weak.
Escape Room.
It's weak.
It's pretty weak. But Escape Room was good. Also, at the beginning of the year was Glass, the follow-up to...
I did not like the end.
That was M. Night Shyamalan's follow-up to Unbreakable and Split. And yeah, I really wanted to love Glass because if the ending of Split...
was good.
Split itself was great, but then the way that they ended it... And spoilers, by the way, if you don't want to know the ending of Split... which is, again, a few years ago now, then block your ears for a second. But the way that they tied it into Unbreakable at the last second, It wasn't like a traditional twist of his, but it made me blow my own mind where I did not expect that, and I was really looking forward to Glass and be like, oh, finally we get to see Bruce Willis come back as this character, and how are these two characters gonna fight? And
I was excited.
Samuel Jackson, how's he gonna come back? And then, the first half of the movie, the first half of Glass,
I thought it was good.
had really great potential, but it's it without giving away the ending let both of us down.
The last quarter was terrible.
The last
you build
act,
all this build up just for it's like.
The last act is
terrible.
underwhelming. So unfortunately, Glass does not make my
and not just
super
underwhelming;
top
it's
list.
disappointing.
But I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
I don't think it's a bad movie.
It wasn't a bad
worth
movie. I do think it's worth the watch.
It's just not one I'm going to own.
But
I'll
yeah,
watch again.
I would own it if they changed the last 15 minutes around. Yeah. He was very close. And you know what? M. Night Shyamalan has a history, I think, of most of his movies getting very close to being good and then kind of unraveling at the last minute. I still think
I'd have to rewatch them to agree with you or not. But
I mean, Sixth Sense kind of.
I like that. I like the ending.
That kind of set expectations for him as a director so high right off the bat that I don't think he's really lived up to that yet.
I'm pretty sure it blew everybody's mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
if you guessed the ending before you saw it, I want you to comment and tell me how.
Yes, please do below. I mean, I think everybody knows the ending to that movie by now, but it at the time very inventive, and I really liked Signs too. I think. There's a lot of people out there that
I don't really remember all of it.
Give Signs a bad rap, but that creeped me out in theaters. There was a couple key moments of that movie that were really creepy.
With the crops?
That was the crop circles. And
then the thing under the door?
Yep, and the aliens.
That's all I remember.
Yep.
It's freaked me out too.
Yeah, and a lot of people criticize the ending of that for being a little weak, but if you actually look more into what his original plans for that movie were, and if you look at it from that direction, you suddenly go, oh, I thought it was interesting. And maybe we'll do another video on that later because that movie's also over 10 years old, so not this year. But Glass was okay, but wasted a lot of its potential.
The therapist angle on it.
I did like her. Great cast.
In the beginning and the middle. The end, obviously.
To its credit, the cast was great, and they all did a great job with their performances. I just think that the story could have wrapped up.
I love that the kid came back, too. Well-rounded the whole
That was great. There was a movie he made 20 plus years ago, and he did
And he was a kid. Most kids
can
either quit or go crazy.
I mean,
or there's a few sprinkles of the ones that stay sane.
You see what happened with Jake Lloyd, the kid from Star Wars Episode 1. He did not stick around.
No.
And many other. Macaulay Culkin. I mean, I liked that Macaulay Culkin, by the way, little tangent here, he's getting back into stuff
excited.
now, and that's cool.
I commend him for getting over that.
Definitely.
Addiction's a very hard thing to get over.
Anybody who gets over problems like that, he didn't make a movie this year, but Macaulay Culkin, if you're listening for some reason, congratulations, and
it's impressive.
Good on you for getting back out there, and I love you on Red Letter Media. Anyway, movies. After that, Happy Death Day to You.
Loved it.
If anybody has missed either of the Happy Death Day movies,
stop listening.
Go watch them.
And then come back.
I think that they are definitely worth it. It's an underrated
and it's
series.
Really funny.
It's really funny.
Genuinely funny without trying.
It's I think it's one of those horror genre movies that non-horror fans can watch too. At least that was my opinion of it, because there's enough sci-fi and action elements to it that set it apart. It's not just
if you get scared easily, it would be a good one.
Yeah, it's not just your general slasher movie, although it does have the elements.
Flashing.
Yeah, it does have the elements and some of the tropes of a slasher movie in it. But particularly with the second one, they lean even further into the sci-fi element of it and time travel and just kind of multiple universe things going on. That's a really cool series. And if they make a third one, I will be there for it. Because they definitely...
I'll be there opening day.
Without spoiling the end of that one, They definitely leave it open for something else, and that's another really unique concept series that I thought was very not poorly received, but just underrated.
Yeah.
Like I don't think a lot of people saw it, and it deserved better than that.
It's Blumhouse, right?
Yes,
I
it's
love their
Blumhouse.
movies. I love their
Blumhouse
movies.
is killing it.
I
By
love
the way,
their movies.
the 2010s were definitely the decade of Blumhouse. In many ways.
I did not see that other movie by them. I think it's by them.
That was the La Llorona one.
No, not that
No?
one.
The
Facebook one? No, wait, what is it?
The Unfriended.
Truth or Dare.
No,
Truth or Dare.
not Truth or... Oh, yeah, Truth or Dare. No, I haven't seen that yet.
No, I thought it was freaky.
The one with the phone app.
I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen that one either.
You know phones do weird stuff. No thanks.
You know, you never know. But it's a great concept for a horror movie, though. Take a new technology and make it scary. To lean completely in the opposite direction of that, How to Train Your Dragon 3. Excellent movie.
Oh my god, I love them. I love them.
This is my favorite animated movie of the year, I think. This is over Toy Story 4 for me. This is over anything Disney, without mentioning names. This is a great series. This is a great end to the series, and I had been really behind on the How to Train Your Dragon series. I hadn't watched it. So we watched all three together.
In like 2 days.
Yep, right back to back, and it is great. And I liked watching them all at once. I like that I got the chance to not have to wait.
I do like that when you forget about something or you just miss out on a movie, you can just binge it.
Yep, and when you binge it, it's kind of like, hey, this is a new Netflix thing. Like the era of Netflix has changed that a lot, but this was a great movie. Again, great cast, great concept. I've always loved dragon stuff.
Yeah, me too. I am born the year of the dragon.
She's a dragon.
He almost made it. He almost made it.
I'm right. I am a December baby. Well, actually, that's not what counts. Chinese zodiac. I'm 1 year off.
Yep.
But only by a couple days. But
2 weeks.
Yep. She's 2 weeks into that year, and I love anything to do with just fantasy and dragons and all that stuff is cool. And to take that concept, take a kid's book that was very simple, and to turn it into this like really involved mythology about Viking culture that fights dragons, but then learns to live with dragons, and then this kid who goes from this really scared dork and evolves into this like leader, and just everything that is involved with that.
I love the whole movie, and it's adorable.
And it's one of those rare animated movies that doesn't rely at all on any sort of like either pop culture references, or it's not even a musical. They just approached it as a straight up narrative. Like they treated those movies like live action movies. They treated them like seriously and didn't play dumb to kids. Like they those movies are for adults and kids, and it's a great series. If you haven't seen the How to Train Your Dragon series, go watch it. Stop bashing on animation. If you don't watch a movie just because it's animated,
You're missing out.
Stop it and go watch it. They're great. To completely flip gears again and go back into horror, Us came out right around that same time.
I like that a lot. The ending didn't make sense.
Yeah, well, okay, this is
it like flipped it. They were trying so hard to like blow your mind that they made it like it didn't add up. I still loved it though.
Yeah, I think I have a pretty similar opinion. Jordan Peele is another person who is killing it though.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, he had Get Out, which is incredible.
I wish I could go in his mind for a little bit and see what's in there.
Yeah.
See what's coming next.
Get Out was one of the first horror movies, or thriller movies. I don't know if you could call it a straight up horror, but
Get Out I liked a lot. I liked the better.
Get Out is better than Us, but Us is still good. It's a good second movie for him, and the concept is really great. But without spoiling anything,
I still have that song.
it
played
kinda,
in that fashion, stuck in my head every once
yeah,
in a
the
while.
I Got Five on It song.
Yeah.
You take any pop culture song and like slow it down and make it like
That was a great
weird.
choice song, though.
It's great. It's a great creepy thing to do. The trailer for that movie was great. Lupita Nyong'o, the main actress,
Whoa.
in it. Oh my
Those
god,
eyes.
she deserved to be
Wow.
nominated for an Oscar, and
Oh, yeah.
she got snubbed.
She did incredible.
We'll do another episode later on about the Oscars for this year and like who deserved what and everything. But she definitely could have been nominated. The fact that she just plays two different versions of
Everybody was great
a
in that
person,
movie, but she surpassed
she definitely
everybody.
shined, and what she does with her eyes creeps me out. Just her eyes alone. You go look
Especially in the shadow in the corner.
Yep.
Oh my
You
God.
go
Right near
look.
the fireplace.
You go look at the poster for Us. The poster creeps me out, but it's not one of those movies. It's again one of those horror movies that I can watch as someone who isn't the biggest horror fan, because it's just a cool concept. And again, it's kind of science fiction-y.
I like more blow your mind than make
Yeah.
you see red the whole movie.
It's not it's not a super gory movie, although it does have some gory elements to it. Like, you have doppelganger people killing other people. Yeah, particularly with the neighbors. Tim Heidecker in a movie. For those of you who don't know him, he mostly has stood out as a weird goofball on Adult Swim, but in this movie he plays an annoying neighbor and a very creepy doppelganger person that
I'm remembering the kids, the wife, and not him. What is this?
the white dude.
Well, that's like...
He's creepy. And it's a good movie.
I'm gonna look it up.
The way that they do the twist at the end of this movie is a very cool idea, but it also makes a lot of other things in the movie not make so much sense to me. So that's where I stand on that one.
Oh, okay.
Again, completely switching gears here and leaning more into the geeky side of things. We had summer come up, and there was a lot going on this summer. Endgame for one.
Loved it.
We're going to get to yesterday, but also Shazam. Shazam was
Incredible.
great. I loved Shazam. I was questioning it when it first came out. Not that I knew I was going to like it. I just was curious as to how well they would be able to pull that concept off, and they did very well. It was actually one of my favorite movies from DC so far. I liked how they were able to put it in the universe of the other DC movies. Like, you get references to characters like Batman and Superman and the other heroes, but it's also there's some
appearances.
There's some surprise appearances and or half appearances from other characters.
They probably haven't cast him yet at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and one of the kids, Freddy, does you see him wearing T-shirts of all the superhero logos throughout the movie, like including Wonder Woman, Aquaman. You get the point that this is set in the universe of the other DC films, but at the same time, they found a way to have this character and this story stand on its own.
Yeah.
It's its own thing. It's just telling a pretty simple origin story. It is an origin movie for a superhero, and they did it so right. And the cast of kids in that movie, my God, they're great.
I agree.
I don't know what the casting director. Child actors can be such a hit or miss. There's so many movies that could have been good, but you get a child actor who hasn't
overplaying it, or just
hasn't
hitting the mark,
hasn't come into their skill set yet. Like, you get a lot of kid actors are not born to be actors. They're just along for the ride. These kids are gonna be actors.
Yeah.
Even the youngest kid, like the little girl.
Definitely Freddie.
Definitely Freddie and Billy, which Asher Angel and Jack Dylan Grazer, who play Billy Batson and his friend Freddie, respectively, those kids are going places, and they've already been in several other things, but they really sold the movie. And then you get Mark Strong in there, who plays the villain, and Zachary Levi, obviously.
I'm glad to see him back. He's probably been out, but I just haven't seen anything.
If you've ever watched the show Chuck,
amazing.
It's
Good
great.
show, good
and if you
show.
haven't watched it, get on Netflix and watch it,
hoping
or
he does a
wherever it is.
reboot.
I don't know where
He's trying to.
I don't know where Chuck lands right now streaming, but it's definitely worth the watch. Although that was one of the things going into that movie where when I heard that the guy from Chuck was playing Shazam, or as he used to be known, Captain Marvel, which is another interesting thing. Which, by the way, Captain Marvel also came out this year. And I don't know how we skipped over that, but we did not mean to. Captain Marvel is also amazing. And that was the funny thing about this year was that we had Captain Marvel come out from Marvel and Shazam come out from DC. And the original name of the character in Shazam back when it first came out in the early 20th century was Captain Marvel. So just the fact that those two movies came out like within a month of each other after having decade-long histories for each movie where they could have come out at any point, the fact that they both come out in the same year only a couple months apart from each other is both weird and cool. I
wonder if they plan this stuff. I wonder.
I mean, I feel like a lot of it could be a mixture of coincidence and just one studio hears about what the other studio's doing, or it just both happens to fall within the same time. But both of these movies, superheroes had a great year. Shazam was awesome. Captain Marvel was epic. We had Spider-Man, Endgame, Joker, all of these things. We'll get to a couple more of those later, but both of those were great. And Captain Marvel did, for female superhero movies, a great thing, I think. I know you loved Captain Marvel.
I loved it.
I loved Captain Marvel. I think all of you deserve to watch it. Brie Larson got a lot of flack online for, I don't know, some comments that she made in real life. But, I don't know why that enters into how people feel about her character in a movie about a superhero.
What'd she say?
She had a lot of complaints against how Hollywood is very male-centric and, just taking on the patriarchy, basically. And a lot of internet trolls were kind of attacking her for
having an opinion?
Not having an opinion, but I think that she came off as very smug about things.
I think she's just excited for change in the industry and in pop culture, comics, all that.
Yeah.
It's always male-driven, centric, usually.
Well, I think that's the thing. That's why that movie is great, because, we had Wonder Woman previously, I think, the previous year, and that was awesome and should have gotten, it got a ton of attention, but it should have gotten even more because that movie was long overdue.
Yeah.
Both of these characters have decades of history behind them and haven't gotten movies until now. That's a crime. Even as a guy, I want to see more female superhero movies, and we're finally getting that, which is great, not just for the comic nerds, but for little girls and for women,
nerds too
and
here.
For women everywhere. Both genders, all genders, I should say, deserve representation, and we still aren't even there yet. We still don't have enough representation. It's still mostly men and mostly white men that have these movies, and it's good that we're finally starting to get diversity in the superhero genre. We need more of it. We're starting to get more of it. I'm looking forward to seeing that expand, and Captain Marvel was a great addition to that just mix. I mean, you finally before that you had not gotten a movie where you saw a woman who had all those powers. It was great. The fact that you see her flying through spaceships and
Yeah, they were
blasting
usually
people.
just the girlfriend of the superhero.
Yeah, with laser beams, you usually just have historically gotten like the Lois Lane, like the love interest, like, oh, she's a reporter, or oh, she's a girlfriend, or a wife, or a friend, a fellow, pilot,
Confident.
or, if this was a standard movie from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, about a fighter pilot who got superpowers, it'd be like, and here's, my friend Lacey, she's a great pilot too. Oh, she'll help out, but I get the powers. No, she gets the powers, and that's great. Like, you need that. And she had, you had the little girl in Captain Marvel who I can't wait until they give that character her own superhero movie, because they're going to sooner or later. The future of Marvel movies and DC movies, speaking of Shazam at the same time, I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to see where both of those studios go from here.
I'm excited.
And if you look at the upcoming movie slates for both of those universes, we got some great stuff coming for us in the 2020s. This is going to be a great decade. Last decade was a great decade, but it's going to get even better, I think. And then you get to Endgame, of course. That came out right after Captain Marvel and Shazam. We've already talked about that a little bit, and we're going to have another video or several videos about that also on this channel. But if you haven't seen Endgame, who are you? Because like everybody on Earth has seen that movie.
What are you doing with your life?
I don't know who hasn't seen that movie yet, but it made like $2 billion. If you haven't seen it, you're not seeing it on purpose. I know that, because even like the little old lady from Bakery 25 has probably seen Endgame, even if she hasn't seen any other Marvel movie. She was very confused. Whoever hasn't seen the rest of them probably has no idea what was going on, but they probably still liked it because it was crazy. That movie.
It was awesome.
One sentence sums up Avengers Endgame. That movie, at one point, gives you Spider-Man with robotic legs coming out of his back, riding a Pegasus, piloted by a Viking woman that is trying to get a glove with gems that alter the universe into a time machine. That sentence alone would seem to make absolutely no sense, but it's crazy. It's so crazy. If you had said that was going to happen in a movie to me, even just a couple years ago, I would not have believed that at all. But they did it, and you believe it. It works. It's such a great movie. I'm not going to spoil much else other than the fact that Spider-Man rides a Pegasus, and if you haven't seen it, I mean, I'm sorry. It came out like more than half a year ago. We'll do a full spoiler discussion of Endgame later on, but there's so many moments in that movie that were just so great. Captain America fights himself at one point.
That's America's ass.
That is America's ass. Is a line in a Marvel movie.
I loved it in the elevator with the Hail Hydra.
They
Perfect.
That's a callback to like a comic book run that just came out, but in a different way, and a callback to a previous movie where you think you know how things are gonna go.
Speaking of Captain America, what blew my mind, I loved it. He could pick up Thor's hammer. He was worthy. And Thor was a little upset about that.
Spoiler alert, but yeah, again, if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. Captain America wields Thor's hammer in such an amazing way. The way that the theater erupted when that happens, I've never been part of any other movie-going experience like that. The energy, we're both relatively young, but we were born in the 80s, but the only thing that I can think of that could have probably come close to that was like people seeing Star Wars for the first time or something along those lines. People seeing King Kong or The Wizard of Oz for the first time, where it's just something so mind-blowing at the time that it just becomes a sensation. And that movie really did prove that if you do fan service in the right way, then you're gonna make all the money, because that movie made
$2 billion.
all the money in the world.
Yeah.
And you
did it beat the world record?
It did. It is the top, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it beat so many other records.
$2.5 billion.
Yep.
Wow.
So it's over $2.5 billion. It is the highest grossing film of all time. It had the highest opening weekend of all time, and the fastest that a movie has gotten to that much money as well as several other
I don't see
records.
anybody breaking that.
Yeah,
and if they do, I can't even fathom how crazy it would be.
Yep. It's the highest grossing. It's fastest to 500 million, fastest to 1 billion, fastest to 2 billion. Highest opening weekend, highest IMAX opening weekend, highest 3D opening. It's word of mouth is worth a lot, and goodwill is worth a lot. Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. That is a good producer, and that is basically the type of person who should run any of these franchises. All franchises deserve a head honcho that pays as much attention to planning and just property value as he does. So there's that. Then came John Wick 3. I wanted to touch on John Wick just a tiny bit again. That's a great movie. It does still leave you wanting more, but we're getting a John Wick 4.
Halle Berry and the dogs. The dog scenes. Wow.
That's true. Halle Berry did a great job in that too. I forgot about her, and the dogs are great. And that whole series basically based around what a dog lover, what a pet lover would do.
I would.
If somebody messed
Don't
with
mess with my cats.
Your little fur babies. So Keanu is a good pet owner and a vicious mofo that you don't want to cross. And he makes a great action star.
Oh, he's great. I love that. I love that scene where he tried to shoot at her dog, and then Halle Berry pulls out the gun and just shoots that guy right in the.
You know what?
Yep.
She means business.
And starts killing everybody.
I hope that in John Wick 4, Halle Berry gets a bigger part, because she is kind of a bit part here.
I want those dogs back.
And there should be John Wick 4. I don't know if it's going to be the last John Wick or not, but regardless, John Wick 4 should have more dogs, more death, and more badassery all around. More
gruesome death too. I wouldn't hate it.
They keep ratcheting up the stakes. I don't know. I think John Wick 3 might be better, in my opinion, than John Wick 1, although it's a very close race, because John Wick 1 is pretty great. And John Wick 2, right up there, although I don't know if John Wick 2 is better than the first one. John Wick 3, though, really great. Beyond Endgame and John Wick, this summer was chock full of stuff. Disney had a big year. They put out not just their live-action remake of Aladdin. They had Lion King, Spider-Man also. Well, Spider-Man is Sony, but there's a lot of stuff going on between Disney and Sony, so it's like it's still kind of sort of under their banner.
I'm glad they worked out their thing.
I am glad too. Spider-Man Far From Home was also great, but I think it kind of got lost in the conversation a little bit.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I was hoping something different, because I already called what was happening. I'm not going to lie, I don't follow the comics, but I was hoping for something else, and I'm not sure what even it was. But I like the ending and the blow up for Spider-Man. I like that.
I think that it could lead to some very interesting places, and I thought that Aladdin was really good.
I liked it.
I did. The only thing I could say about Aladdin that I myself would have altered was I thought that the guy
Jafar was not scary.
Yeah, I thought the guy they cast for Jafar could have been creepier. I mean, he was creepy, but he was kind of too handsome.
He's more like a stalker creep, not like
he was.
Could kill you and your girl. And there was no lamp thing.
Oh,
there was no
the
hourglass. Yeah, I like that.
They did change up the final
And the bird.
Jafar
I wanted the
battle.
bird to be voiced by the original.
I liked as far as if they're going for a more realistic take, aside from the fact that he turns huge at one point, then they did Iago the parrot in a decent way, but you can't beat the Gilbert Gottfried original.
Jafar.
It's
No,
yeah,
I love it.
It's hard to get rid of that aspect of it without it feeling a little disappointing. And my big thing was he didn't. Spoilers for this, but he doesn't turn into a big snake either.
Yeah, no.
So I was waiting for that. That doesn't happen. But that being said, they did do a really good job, and like I was really questioning how well Will Smith was gonna do as
He
the
did really
genie,
good. I liked
and
it.
he killed it. I mean, you're never gonna beat
Robin
Robin
Williams,
Williams, and I don't think even Will Smith. I think he knows that he couldn't really do that. Though that's a big role to fill, and I do think that. I mean, do you think that if Robin Williams was still alive, would they have brought him back in to be the genie, or would they still have recast it?
I think he'd. I'm not sure about that, but I think he'd definitely like have a cameo.
I think that you did see, because you kind of see the flip side of that coin with they remade Lion King as well, and they did bring Mufasa.
Mufasa.
James Earl Jones.
Oh yeah.
So they did bring him back to do that voice, but in that case, that was also it was really well done, but it was also basically the exact same movie.
Yeah.
So
It was just live action.
Yeah, but not even because it was still animated.
They did a really good job with all the animals. I like that. And the last scene when all the animals come together, I like that a lot.
I think that it was super. They know what they're doing. Like the super smart money making move on their part, because everybody loves Lion King and everybody's gonna see that movie, and everybody did. I think Disney this year made basically all the money ever.
Yeah.
With their lineup, they had
billions.
They had more than $5 billion making movies. Yeah, that was crazy. You also had, going beyond Disney, you had Rocket Man was really great.
I love that. I really liked how deep he got with sharing his story of addiction and recovery. It's pretty good.
I've always loved Elton John's music, but I never really knew his life story. And
no, me neither.
The way they presented it was really cool, because instead of just a standard biopic, it's kind of like a fantasy musical.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It's very entertaining.
It reminded me a lot of Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Where, they would just break out into this thing where you're like, okay, this isn't really reality anymore. This is out there, kind of surrealist imagery, but it worked for his story. Definitely. And they wove his songs in really well, and
great casting choice. And I guess Elton John actually picked him.
Yeah, Elton John personally chose the kid Taron Egerton, who he was really great in the Kingsman movie.
Yeah.
And the sequel of that, Elton John was in it, so that must have been how he met him. And
I know they're done with that series, but I wish they would have another movie. I like the Kingsman movies a lot.
They might be bringing more of that to us soon.
Oh, wasn't it a prequel you're talking
There's
about?
a prequel coming out, and I've heard...
But I want him in it.
There's
really
rumors that they are going to do a straight-up third one.
Oh, good.
After, later on. I think that he took a break to kind of do Elton John movie and a couple other things that he's been working on, and then I think that they're going to come back for more Kingsman later.
I'm surprised the Robin Hood didn't do well. I liked it.
Oh, that's right. He had the Robin Hood movie as well. That was last year. Yeah, I didn't mind that.
I liked him and Jamie Foxx together. It worked well.
If anybody's seen, this is going a little further back than 2019, but if anybody's seen the new Robin Hood movie, because I don't think many people did.
No.
It really didn't do well at the box office, but I thought it was cool. It was basically turning Robin Hood more into like a superhero-esque movie.
I liked it a lot.
Which I get, Robin Hood.
I don't know if I think we would have seen it anyways, but we definitely saw it because we had to have the AMC, the deal, and we were like, well, there's nothing else out, but it was really good.
Free plug for AMC right there. AMC, if you want to give us any sort of just free goodies. We love your premiere program, and
I
we will
love your
plug it.
seats.
We will plug it as much
Comfy,
as we
and
can.
the
Everybody go sign up.
Bring
for
back the
AMC.
sushi.
Yes, AMC used to have this really great sushi,
Yeah.
the one near us, and now they don't anymore.
It's delicious.
I missed that. But a lot of AMC theaters do have some really great dine-in food now, and they all have recliner seats now, and their subscription service lets you see like 3 movies a week.
$20
for $20.
That's like one ticket. That's crazy.
A month, and that's free plug for AMC. Anyway, you also going back down the list of more movies. There was Brightburn came out this year, which was also really inventive and cool, but very dark, very dark.
That ending
James
was
Gunn's
twisted.
James Gunn's take on Superman. If the kid who became Superman was just straight up evil, and that's a very dark movie, but a really interesting take on like how that mythology could have gone. So that's worth a watch, definitely. And then you also had Godzilla King of the Monsters come out, which was good.
Yep.
But didn't really blow anything out of the water.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a follow-up to Gareth Edwards' Godzilla. It was good. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Lots of big monsters fighting each other. I liked it.
Yeah, me too.
I think it just flew under the radar for most people.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Yesterday, too, came out.
Oh, I like that a lot. And I like how 2 other people remembered.
Yesterday, another really unique concept this year. Like, this guy just suddenly, this blackout happens all over the world, and then he wakes up with, he's the only one who remembers the Beatles or any of their music.
Or he thinks.
He thinks. And then he just decides to kind of release all of their music as his own music, which that movie really hit a chord with me. I've grown up loving the Beatles, and I liked that it introduced you to a lot of the music of the Beatles
that
you had not heard before.
No, I think before that I heard like 3 songs. I know
You're a casual.
I'm a weirdo.
No, you're a casual fan of the Beatles. I think you'd heard the songs, but you weren't intimately.
That's true.
You didn't have a lot of knowledge about it.
That's true.
So you kind of.
I was mostly into like rock and roll and like oldies in a different way. My dad got me into like a different sect of that.
But that, like, the concept of that movie was really cool and unique, and there's a very cool little cameo in there for the hardcore Beatles fans that, when I say that, you might expect one thing, but it is a completely different thing that you're not expecting. But then you also had a couple other movies come out towards the end of the summer that are worth mentioning. I liked Stuber.
Well, that was hilarious.
Was really funny with Dave Bautista and Kumail Nanjiani. And you had Crawl, got really underrated too. That was another horror movie that I liked this year.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing.
I forget.
It was like an adrenaline rush the whole movie. I loved it. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen next?
That is a really good one for if you're looking for.
And that scene in the shower, the tub actually. Oh my God, that was insane.
She did like a alligator starts attacking her in the tub. That is Kaya Scodelario. I hope I'm not butchering her name.
To her. I actually was introduced to her when I was watching the British show Skins. She's really good. She's a really good actress.
She's from Skins, yeah. Well, yeah, she did good. So that's a movie that's really kind of small in scope, but has you on the edge of your seat the whole time at the same time, with just the concept of a flood bringing a bunch of alligators into your house, and you're trapped, and you got to get out.
And but the water's rising while you're trying to get away from
everywhere. And that's really great. Worth a checkout if you haven't seen that and you want to see people fight their way out of an alligator infested house. But yeah, alligators bite people, and it's good. Let's talk about Ready or Not. I really loved this movie, and that's coming from somebody who is not a huge horror fan, but I didn't think it was like straight up horror. It was it's a great thriller movie.
Yeah, definitely.
It is horror.
I just liked how original it was.
Very original. And that's another movie I don't hear a lot of people talking about.
A lot of twists and turns, too. I like that.
I think it deserves a lot more talk. And Samara Weaving, someone that I haven't seen in a lot of movies yet, but she was in that movie, The Babysitter, which
Oh yeah, I saw
we
that.
watched on Netflix. That's another one that, while we're not huge horror fans, does have a lot of horror to it, but I really loved that as well. So she seems to be attaching herself to a lot of unique and
Trying to be a Scream Queen, or the next one.
Yeah, and I think that she's going to do a really good job of it. I'm very interested in seeing where she goes, and this movie was really great, like, just original concept of...
I really loved the ending.
Yeah, without
It was satisfying.
without giving what happens away, if the ending doesn't leave you just blown away, not blown away, but like
Satisfied.
super satisfying.
Definitely satisfying.
With the movie that comes before it. It keeps you guessing the whole way through as to what exactly is going on, and then pays off beautifully at the ending.
Good
the whole
bloody mess.
movie is a big bloody mess, but in a fun way.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, you just are really rooting for her to
Not die.
and to get away from all these psychotic people that are chasing her. So that's a really great movie.
We didn't say anything. Not Jason. What am I? Halloween. That was like an amazing ending. With Jamie Lee Curtis, she just like fucks
We
that
should
motherfucker
do a
up.
whole horror thing of the last few years, because Halloween was actually last year.
Yeah, 2019.
No, 18, I thought.
No, it wasn't. Shut the fuck up.
Let me see. Let me check this out
That's not
here.
funny.
Let me check this out.
Time cannot be going by this
Halloween.
fast. Oh
yeah,
my god.
Yeah.
No. God, I could have
That
swore.
was
I
not
could have swore.
this
I
Halloween.
could have swore I saw it
This
year.
Halloween
Or last year. Oh my god.
was this one. But we do have another Halloween film coming next year.
Well, I guess you can just stop at that movie if you're satisfied. Or you can just keep watching and see how he magically... I don't get it.
It is true.
Is that mass flame retardant in his suit? Is that what's happening?
I don't know.
I don't know.
And speaking of a lot of also just carnage too, you had Rambo Last Blood. Was another one that came out.
I love Sylvester Stallone. I watch it every single movie.
I do have to see every Stallone movie that comes out, so this was no exception to that. And it really did live up to pretty much all the brutal action that I wanted. It did feel short.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
I agree.
They kept it short and sweet, and it's another very simple story of just like this gang hurts a person that is close to Rambo, and then Rambo just gets all of them, destroys them all, and that's a great little movie, and it's very harkening back a lot to the older Rambo movies where it wasn't like kind of a huge shoot 'em up. Like the last one.
I always enjoy those family revenge movies, though.
It is. It's a simple revenge story, but there's some straight up brutal kills in that movie, and all very satisfying.
It's very satisfying.
If you're in the mood for that.
That reminds me, we have to go back to PA because I need to run up those stairs.
Oh right. To kind of a Stallone tangent. The last time we visited Philadelphia, we tried to visit the Rocky Stairs, but they were being blocked by the NFL draft pick.
I was like, oh, come on.
And there was a big stage in front of the Rocky Stairs, and we could not do the thing that all tourists like to do.
Exactly.
So.
And I was going to play the music. Like, I don't care. I was going to get into it.
Yeah.
But it's a good reason to visit again.
Do have to do that. Continuing on with the Carnage theme, Zombieland 2 came out. Which
that was really good.
That was something I've been looking forward to for a while. I loved the original Zombieland.
That's really good.
Double Tap. They finally came back. I'm just glad that they got the whole original cast back for that one.
That was really good. I liked the beginning, middle, and all of it.
And they added some surprises. Rosario Dawson came in. She was great. And the fact that they had the scene where you get the mirror versions of Woody. They brought Luke Wilson and that other guy. I forget who played the Thomas Middleditch.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is.
I'm sorry, Thomas. I had to look you up, but you have one of those faces that I always recognize, but your name usually escapes me. But they had him and Luke Wilson show up as like the alternate versions of Woody Harrelson and Jesse Eisenberg. And it took them too long to make that movie.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess getting all those people together, schedules and everything, kind of takes a while. And I think they had a Zombieland TV show at one point that I missed out on.
I haven't heard of that.
didn't do too well. I don't think Zombieland in general got like a huge fan base, like a huge. It's not a huge moneymaker, but it does have a cult following, I think. And they did a really good job with this movie. And what's her name there? Zoe Deutsch, I believe her name is, playing like the ditzy Barbie girl in it, was also hilarious. And I think they did.
I've been sleeping in a fridge. This is so much nicer than a fridge.
It took them.
Sorry,
it took them 10 years, but it was a good follow up. Nothing groundbreaking, but just as entertaining as the original, I think. You also had Gemini Man come out with Will Smith playing both the younger and older versions of himself.
Oh, he's great.
That's another movie that kind of flew. It didn't really fly under the radar, but it did underperform.
Yeah.
It didn't do what they wanted it to do financially, but it wasn't a bad movie. It had its ups and downs, but I would have said if it had come out 10 years ago, people wouldn't have been able to stop talking about it.
No.
But it's definitely worth a look. I just wouldn't call it like one of the best of the year either. So I always love Will Smith.
Yeah.
Then we have Joker.
That was intense.
That was intense and dark. And definitely
very
worthy
realistic
of all the Oscar talk that it's getting now.
Oh, yeah. I think it deserves one, definitely.
Joaquin Phoenix.
He did a great job.
Joaquin Phoenix blew it out of the park.
Not even just acting, but like to like lose that much weight too. It's got to be like intense.
Just to embody that character.
And that laugh, it's still like in my head.
The laugh is just as iconic as the other Joker laughs, but in his own way. He definitely made it his own. And it's definitely a unique version of that character. And the fact that they do kind of include some of the classic Batman elements in there, but very minimal. It is very much straight up a Joker origin story. Yeah. But super satisfying, super brutal, and very dark.
Everybody treated him like shit.
It's true.
It's no wonder he turned into a psycho. I know it's a fictional character, but I'm just saying it's something you should do anyway. It's like, just don't treat people like crap. Like, everybody's dealing with something.
I do think that's the main message, is to not underestimate people with mental health issues and not treat them poorly.
And like punish them for being the way they are.
Because you never know what that's going to do to a person. And I thought it was a super realistic version of what circumstances could
do to shape you.
Do to shape you and create a person like that character. Like, this wasn't a Joker that like fell into some chemicals and now he's crazy. No, this is like
he was shaped by the world.
This could actually happen too. This is just a guy.
It has happened.
And it has, yeah. But this, well, maybe not to that extent, but it's realistic. You could see this happening.
Yeah.
There's no superheroics going on. It's not like a supervillain origin movie. It's just it's a snap. It's a realistic person being pushed past their breaking point into psychosis. Well, it's a well done job on all fronts by both Joaquin Phoenix and the director Todd Phillips, who, by the way, that's the director of The Hangover.
What?
And you go from The Hangover to that movie is like, wow. The fact that you could go from just raunchy bro comedy to that is very impressive, and now it's up for every Oscar. I think that movie is nominated more than any other film this year as far as like number of Oscars.
It should be. He did an amazing job.
It might not win all of them, but it's nominated for
I think
like
it will
11
definitely win
Oscars.
something.
Yeah, it's definitely going to win something. Soon enough, we will figure out what. And then you also had Terminator Dark Fate, which is the newest installment in the Terminator franchise. This is another movie that really underperformed again at the box office, and that might have a lot to do with how people haven't really had the best opinion of the last couple Terminator movies. So even though this one was a pretty great movie,
I loved it.
Not a lot of people went to see it, but I would still recommend it because it is pretty good. It's a direct sequel to the second Terminator movie, ignoring all the other movies that have come out in between. They brought Linda Hamilton back.
I like that a lot.
And it does put a new twists into that storyline
Yeah.
that I won't give away here, but it is worth a watch. It's just another one that really flew under the radar.
Oh yeah.
Last couple movies because that's getting towards the end of the year. Knives Out is one of the last couple movies to talk about, and that's also got a few Oscar nominations. I think it should have more.
I thought it was amazing. Just a good movie all around. Like it twisted. Like I didn't even guess the end, and I always guess the end of movies. I really like that.
That's true. We've become pretty good at.
I did guess the killer though,
the ending.
but I just didn't know how they did it.
Without saying who the actual person was who done it, is a very good who done it, and it has a lot of vibes of Clue and also just some of the better like murder mystery movies. And then you have Daniel Craig doing a kind of Foghorn Leghorn Southern accent the whole time.
He did pretty good.
It
was weird.
Kind of weird at first, but then you kind of settle into it, and it's the story is great. Still wondering why he chose that particular direction for his character, but you like it, and I think that they're talking about making another follow-up to that with his character.
I would watch it.
So I would watch it too. And a fun fact about that movie for us is we know the place where they shot some of the climax scenes for that movie is a place that we're very familiar with. So that was kind of cool. Personally, for us, we got to recognize some of the locations up in that movie. And that's always cool.
It was awesome. I liked that a lot.
That when movies have filmed somewhere that you're familiar with and you get to see that up on the screen. That's happened for us in a couple movies now.
Amy Schumer.
Yep, Amy Schumer had a movie that shot scenes at a place where we've been, and now Daniel Craig did, and that was fun. Plus, but it was just a really good movie overall. Rian Johnson kind of, I think, proved that he doesn't deserve all the kind of backlash that he got when he worked on Star Wars, which is another and final movie that also came out this year, was The Last Star Wars.
I need to see that.
And we're going to put our review of that movie up on this channel very soon. So we'll talk about the movie more in depth there. But needless to say, this one was also very divisive. Probably less so than Rian Johnson's movie. But Rian Johnson did a great job with Knives Out. And he also directed Looper. And
I love Looper.
What was the other one he did? Brick and
Brick.
I think something else. But he
I don't think I saw that one.
I think he's better when he gets to write and direct his own stuff. I have a lot of mixed opinions about his Star Wars and a lot of mixed opinions about this new Star Wars. I would love to say that it is, it blew everything away and ended the year with a bang, but I think that award goes more to Endgame because Endgame was just so completely like satisfying of a wrap up, and I don't.
That was like over 10 years of build up, and it worked well.
Yes, and I mean Star Wars has its own several decades of build up. I don't think that they pulled it off as good as Endgame, but I don't think anybody could have topped. Just the writers of Marvel and Endgame did such a good job that's a very high bar to beat. And but I don't think don't not see Star Wars. Go see it. Form your own opinion. It's still great. Everything's great. But this year this year had a lot of steep competition as far as both nerdy movies, non-nerdy movies, action, horror, comedy. Man, this was a stacked biopics. This was a stacked year. And again, like I said earlier, we haven't even seen several of some of the movies that people are talking about a lot. Still haven't seen 1917. Still haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari or Jojo Rabbit. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We gotta get to all of those, but we did get to so many. Oh, and tiny little honorable mention here too that I don't think we talked about, because we're going to be doing videos on the games coming up on this channel. Thought I'd mention for you nerds out there, Detective Pikachu. It's a super cute movie. Like,
I like how they filmed it in the Pokemon's world,
yes.
Not our world with the Pokemon in it.
That's what I appreciated about that. A lot of those movies where you get characters from cartoons we grew up with, like I'm looking directly at the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that's about to come out. I think Hollywood has this trend of like, we're gonna take these cartoon characters and have them come to Earth, and we're gonna set the whole story on Earth, and it's like these characters dealing with our world. What I liked about the Pikachu movie was it was no Earth. Entirely in the world of Pokemon.
You're like immersed in it.
Yes. They just embraced that. They didn't tell like the old school story of Pokemon with Ash and Misty and Team Rocket and all that. But I feel like that's something they could get to.
Yeah.
It is interesting that they chose to start their movie, like live action movie universe off with a spin-off pretty much. It's based on a really obscure Japanese game, I think, where Pikachu's a detective. But it was a really cute story, and it was a way to get Ryan Reynolds in there voicing Pikachu.
Yeah, I like that.
And you had the kid from Jurassic World 2 in there, Justice Smith, I believe his name is, and he was good.
I really enjoyed that Psyduck.
The Psyduck,
yeah,
the Pikachu, all the Pokemon, they were really good versions of like bringing those creatures into a live action world. The Bulbasaurs in particular, I thought
adorable.
were adorable. And they worked in Mewtwo in there too. For those, I know we're talking a lot of like anybody who's not interested in Pokemon right now is like, oh my god, what are they talking about? But
I love Pokemon.
Hey,
I play
get
Pokemon,
into Pokemon
Go.
Man. We are.
I am the shiny master.
We are part of the Pokemon generation. We're gonna be talking a lot of Pokemon Go and other Pokemon topics from time to time here on the channel, because we grew up with that stuff, and it was neat to see that finally get a movie that was not just a cartoon.
They're making a ton of money now doing stuff from the 80s.
They know how to... They know...
Nostalgia.
You know what? They know how to make money, but they've been sitting on it a lot. Like, they could have made a movie years ago.
It's perfect time now.
But it was good timing as it is, too. I wouldn't have wanted to see them make a movie with real people mixed with Pokemon, and, like, if they had made it 20 years ago, it probably would have looked really crappy.
Terrible?
Yeah. So... that's probably why we haven't seen that until now. And now it looks better. It at least looks more believable. And you get Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean playing an evil businessman.
Oh my
which
God.
is interesting. Bill Nye.
The Ditto face. Creep me out.
Oh yeah, and you get a human with the face of a Ditto.
Those eyes, freaking
which,
terrible.
You know, there was an episode of the cartoon where they did that too. And it was a lot.
I don't remember.
It was a lot less creepy when it's just a really simple drawing. But then if you try and put that into real life, you get, insert creepy sound effect here. So I think that's 2019 pretty much as far as our experience at the movies. I want to do more thoughts on some more of these individual movies later. But as an overall list, that's where things lie. I think if I had to pick like top 5 for me, just out of pure like how much I enjoyed myself at the movies, Endgame is up there in my top 5. John Wick 3 is up there.
I would agree with both of those.
Yeah.
And I would add Shazam in there.
Shazam is probably up there. I don't know if that beats Knives Out is up there. Star Wars falls a little lower than I wanted it to, but it's still up there. Am I past? I think I'm past 5, so let's do 10. Endgame, John Wick, Knives Out, Shazam. Oh, and Star Wars would be 5, but I also... Joker, Spider-Man, Ready or Not, and I don't know, that's 8.
I would add How to Train Your Dragon 3. I really enjoyed that.
You know what? How to Train Your Dragon might actually, that might make my top 10. And I don't know if Us...
I'd say Zombieland 2 and Knives Out. If I had to do 5. I liked all the movies that we've been talking about, but I enjoyed them all.
And there, like I said too, there's quite a few here that we haven't gotten to that would probably make my top 10. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that for now and say that one of my other top 10s would probably be one of those, or a couple of mine might even get bumped. I think Spider-Man might get bumped, possibly Shazam, but no, I really liked Shazam,
I loved
so I
it.
think that Shazam would actually stay
I'm excited for
in
the
my
second
top
one.
10. But definitely Endgame, John Wick, Shazam, Knives Out, Star Wars, Joker, Ready or Not, definitely I think deserves a spot on there.
I need more spots.
I always need more spots. How to Train Your Dragon. And as of right now, I think my bottom picks would be maybe Zombieland and either Rocket Man or I would like to say Us, but I liked Us
The ending
up
didn't
until
make
the ending, so
yeah.
the ending kind of bumps it a little lower for me. So would you say Booksmart? You saw Booksmart. I haven't seen it yet. Would that make your top, or was it just average for you?
This is average. Like, there's so many other good movies out this year.
There was a ton of
It's
good
worth
movies.
a watch, and it's worth owning a copy, I would say, but...
I liked the concept of like a female super bad
Oh, I like that, too.
type thing.
It was really funny.
Well, that's good to know.
I've sold you.
No,
Not...
I have wanted to get to that one and all the other ones that I mentioned earlier.
I want to see 1917.
I really want to see 1917. That's still out, so we might go see that and have a review.
What
of
is The
that
Dead
up
Don't
soon.
Die?
Oh, right. Did I not mention that?
No.
I think I might have mentioned that earlier, but The Dead Don't Die is another zombie movie that came out this year.
I need to see
I know
that.
Bill Murray's in it and Adam Driver. Also, he had another pretty big movie come
I like
out
Adam Driver.
at the end of this year. No, I like Adam Driver too. I actually think he's the best part of the new Star Wars movies. I think that's the pretty shared opinion of a lot of people. I think he's a really good actor, and I think that his story arc in the new Star Wars movies is like the most interesting part of the new Star Wars movies, and should have been structured a little differently.
I kind of like his relationship with Rey. Like, it's like romantic but intense, and like also weird. I don't know. I like it.
He deserved to be, speaking of not this year but last year, really quick, he deserved a nomination for Black Klansman.
I don't think I saw
He was
that.
really good in that. I think we saw that. That was with the guy who is the true story of the guy who attempted to infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh yeah, that was actually really good.
And with Adam
And I
Driver.
love that scene when the guy's talking on the phone. He's like
Yeah.
in like a white voice, I guess.
There's that's a really good movie, and Adam Driver's definitely one to watch.
I used to watch him in Girls. He's really good there too.
That's right. That's where he got his big break, I think.
Yeah, I didn't really like the show. I just watched because he was on it. To be honest.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's pretty much it as far as movies for us this past year. It has been fun, and I hope everyone listening checks out some of these movies as well, not just the huge blockbuster ones. There's a lot of really good movies that came out this year that I think people should see. So that's why we're here. And we'll do another one of these at the end of 2020, talking about all the movies that we have yet to see. There's a lot of really good stuff coming out.
I'm excited.
Next year, we're going to come back and talk about everything that comes out this year. There's a lot of really good stuff coming out in 2020 that we can't wait to talk about. We got the Black Widow movie.
I'm excited for Wonder Woman.
Black Widow, Wonder Woman. A lot of great female-driven movies coming out. Mulan, the live-action Mulan, and the next Suicide Squad. Well, it's kind of Suicide Squad movie. It's Birds of Prey, but it's mainly featuring Harley Quinn from DC. So you get Joker one year and a Harley Quinn movie the next, which is interesting. You have the final Daniel Craig James Bond movie coming out, No Time to Die. That should be good. Got the Top Gun sequel. Bad Boys 3 is out right now, so expect a review of that
Yeah, we're
from
definitely
us
seeing that.
really soon. You got Quiet Place Part 2.
Oh, I'm excited. Really
That's
excited
going
for
to
that.
be great. You have another Fast and Furious movie coming out, Sonic the Hedgehog, Ghostbusters, a couple different Pixar movies.
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted.
Ugh.
How could I forget about
Yes.
Bill and Ted 3 coming out? And you were talking about the Kingsman movies. The prequel for that is coming out, The Kingsman. The next Godzilla and King Kong movie together is coming out. You have Morbius. You have this movie Free Guy. with Ryan Reynolds.
I love Ryan Reynolds.
That looks really interesting. You were talking about Halloween. The next one of those is coming. We'll see how they resolve that with what came before. You got Coming to America sequel coming out. The Witches, which is interesting. I liked that movie, the original version of that, and the book. Got Venom 2.
Oh, I'm
How
excited.
can I
like
forget
that.
about Venom 2?
I want him and Spider-Man to meet up. Let's do it.
And I hope that happens. And you got several other really great movies coming up. Join us for talks on all of those as they come. And we hope that you join us on the channel as we move forward with a lot of other interesting, geeky, nerdy movie topics and fun and all sorts of different videos. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for hanging out, and hope to see you here next time. Leave a comment below and leave a like and subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too, but we hope that you join us for more.
Bye.